Deviated stitching, paint to sample, and 911 are all words that are really synonymous with the brand Porsche. But another word that really describes this brand is precision and build quality. So today we're going to be taking this brand new Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo 4S in our full build quality analysis video, looking through the exterior fit and finish, jumping inside, seeing how everything is put together and feels, talking material choices inside, as well as finally jumping outside, looking at the paint for all of you detailing nerds that really care like myself. So in this video, we're going to show you why people opt to pay the extra money and what you get when you buy a Porsche. So welcome back to another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Let's jump into it. The Porsche brand is one of those that is really special to me and near and dear to my heart. I really got started in my detailing career working with the brand Audi and Porsche. And since then, I've been able to work on incredible vehicles from the brand Porsche, GT cars, RS cars, all the big dollar, insane money vehicles. But what you really find with these, and as a detailer that I really respect and appreciate, is when you are working with these so up close and personal with them, is how everything fits together, the heft behind every single thing, and just the overall precision that they put into these cars. It is truly amazing and something that I really appreciate every time I get to put a polisher or work and wash one of these amazing vehicles. So I've been talking about this in my build quality analysis, that Porsche is really the gold standard. Their paint, just the way everything fits and feels, and I am so incredibly excited to finally bring you a Porsche Taycan to the channel. And let's jump into this one. This will be a fun one. If you're a first-time viewer to this channel, these build quality analysis videos are really quite long. So I'll leave chapters below so that you guys can kind of skip around and figure out what's most interesting to you. But I really break this down into three main parts: exterior fit and finish, interior fit and finish and materials, and lastly, coming outside and looking at the paint in depth, taking the paint meters out, taking the lights out, looking for imperfections and defects. But let's jump into this. Now, this is a customer delivered Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo 4S. Now, I didn't think it was necessarily appropriate for me to ask my customer who's owned this for 6 weeks, hey, what did you pay for this car? So I can tell all of YouTube what you paid for your car. Now, from what I can figure out, this car, when I went on the Porsche configurator last night, is between $140,000 and $160,000 with options. This one is very highly spec'd, especially when we jump inside, you'll see what I'm talking about. Porsche is one of those crazy brands to where you can spend basically a Model 3 on options alone on cars like the Cross Turismo, Sport Turismo, whatever it may be. It is truly insane. So keep in mind, this is a truly expensive vehicle. But let's start off here on the charge port locations. So Taycan, of course, is one of the just incredibly charging EVs in the market. The way that they charge from 10 to 80%, and I think it's 18 minutes flat, is truly insane. So we have two charge port locations on this car. This one has the cool swipe here. May did that a little bit too quick. There we go, as the charge port folds up there into the fender. Now, I think that's really, really cool, feels very premium, but my personal opinion, nothing wrong with just a flap. I do think this is cool. So on the passenger side here, we of course have our DC fast charging port. Truly an incredible charging vehicle, like I said. Nice actuation there as you swipe the opposite way to close it. Now over here, we have our AC charging. And you can see that as we open this up, boom, there it goes. Really nice and precise, but really cool that you have AC charging on one side, DC on the other side. Now, a couple of things that I don't like about not only the charge port, but the location. Actuations like this, and people don't understand this when I talk about it, but having a overly engineered, over fancy mechanical actuation like that, to me doesn't make sense. These cars are getting plugged in potentially multiple times a day, at least once a day. Typically, if you're charging this car at home, you unplug it, you go to the grocery store, it closes, get home, opens again, and you're plugging the car in. So the lifespan of these does concern me, especially if you're buying these secondhand with thousands of miles on them. That concerns me. What most concerns me about the Taycan here is the charge port location. So you roll up to an Electrify America station. Typically, it's going to be sitting here somewhere like where the Kranzla is, and you have this massive cable that you've got to rope around and get all the way to the charge port here. Now on the Taycan, I see so many owners having to basically lay the cable here across the front bumper, sometimes even over the fender. And as a paint nerd and a detailer, that just kills me. One of the worst things about this car, in my personal opinion. For most, you may not care, but if you're on this channel, you probably do care. So anyways, jumping into build quality, fit and finish here. Looking at this front fender to door alignment, look at the precision here. Now, Porsche is one of those brands that I've watched multiple documentaries on, and they literally have these little gauges after the cars are built that they walk around and measure every single gap all the way down and make sure they are perfect. And my, oh my, do you really feel that with this car? Now, this angle shows that this looks quite big right here, but I'll tell you, this gapping is absolutely perfect all the way down the vehicle. Now here on the Cross Turismo, we actually have this area blocked off. I'm thinking Porsche does this because you will probably be taking this vehicle maybe off-road. I doubt a lot of people are, but if you do, this is blocked off because man, does it kick rocks up the side on the normal Taycan or probably Sport Turismo as well. But very precise gapping here. What I really like on this car that I've been most impressed with is this plastic cladding all around the wheels. Now, I don't necessarily love this. I think it's a cool, unique style, especially for a market like here in Colorado. Gonna take this up to the ski mountains. Man, oh man, would this thing look sick with this Thule box and skis on the roof. But this cladding here is one of the best put together pieces that I've seen on any manufacturer's vehicles. You guys hear me complain a lot about Rivian R1T and R1S, how all their plastic pieces get warped, you know, like on the Model Y here. Every single one I see in the shop, basically this is always warped, and you see zero of that here. The gapping is absolutely perfect all the way around this. The other thing that's impressive is you start pulling on this stuff and it feels like it is concreted on there. There is no give in it. It is absolutely perfect. So huge plus here to Porsche. You're gonna hear me talk a lot about this. This fender to front bumper gapping here, absolutely perfect. How they line everything up here, truly incredible. Fender to hood alignment, absolutely perfect all the way around, zero issues. This fits completely flush here, all the way up here. This is flush down here, like nothing wrong with it. Truly, yeah, I shouldn't be surprised, but it's just like, it's so refreshing coming from something like my Model 3, and then you have one of these in the shop and you just go, okay, I get why these things are so expensive because they really care. And I think that's a big thing with Porsche is they really do care here. Now, another area on Porsches, this is every single car. They have a ton of open vents. And these are basically leaf and bug collectors and dirt and gravel and everything gets in all of these vents. Now, as a detailer, these are really annoying to clean out constantly. So something to take into consideration. If you're driving this in the fall time, these get really, really clogged up with leaves and everything like that. But the front bumper here, everything looking incredibly precise. Again, over here, talking plastic cladding. Look at how freaking amazing this is. Why can't other car manufacturers do this? Well, because they're not Porsche and they're building a massive amount more vehicles. But this is where I think companies like Rivian and Tesla really need to work on those little things because, yeah, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't affect how the car drives or anything like that. But when you're just in the presence of this vehicle, man, oh man, you feel the heft, the precision, the care that they put into these. Again, fender to door alignment here, absolutely perfect. This gap does look quite big on camera, but it looks as design intended. Again, gapping here and here, absolutely the same. These little flaps here are very interesting on the Cross Turismo, and you can see already slightly in there, how it's picking up some gravel and rocks. I really don't love this because that's only going to chew away the paint there. Yeah, just one of those things that I wanted to note. Now, moving along to the door section. So this particular car has the crazy roof glass. We'll talk about that more once we get inside the vehicle. We've also got these really cool roof rails. These are actually aluminum and painted or anodized, maybe even black. I'm not sure how they actually bolt these through the glass, so I'm wondering if they have multiple different glass options here. Basically some with holes to where these actually bolt to the frame to carry stuff like roof boxes and skis or bikes, whatever it may be, or if these are actually stuck on. Whatever they are, they have literally zero give. They feel like a huge structure of the car. You can grab them and kind of shake it. Zero movement here. But let's just look at all of the gapping up here. The precision. Again, you guys are going to get tired of me saying the precision, the precision, the precision. But this is what Porsche does. Along here, the clamshell or the whole trunk lid, this entire piece comes up. Absolutely perfect gapping all the way down. Moving along here, rear quarter panel to door, this gapping, absolutely perfect, even all the way down to the plastic cladding. Perfect stuff here. All of this gloss piano black trim looks incredible. I like how tight Porsche actually makes their rubber seals. For a detailer, this is super nice to deal with. A lot of companies have, you know, this rubber stripping in here, as you may be able to slightly see there, will be maybe sticking out a little bit. It's annoying trying to polish around those areas and things like that. So it's very nice, again, to work on these vehicles and feel them. It's just truly awesome. All the gapping here on the A pillar, or I guess this is the B pillar, absolutely perfect, absolutely precise. Our little triangles here. I mean, I don't even know why I'm making this video, to be honest. This car is put together incredibly well. Now let's come in here and grab the door handle. A very, very nice feel. Now there's a lot of door handles in the industry that I don't like. One of the cars lately being the EQE, EQS Mercedes that have these pop-out door handles. They feel so cheap, so flimsy, so plasticky. That's a really nice actuation. Beautiful door thunk there. And what's cool with these door handles here is when you lock them, they actually go back in for aero efficiency. When you unlock them or walk up to the vehicle, they auto present. Really nice mechanical feel there. Does not feel cheap, feels so extremely premium. Let's move back here to the rear end of the vehicle. And yeah, this is my favorite angle of the car. The wagon version just looks beautiful. Cross Turismo, Sport Turismo, I don't care. This is such a striking car. And this color is actually Neptune blue. If I haven't mentioned that, I know somebody's gonna ask, what's this color? Porsche has thousands of colors, and it's pretty crazy to work on their paint to sample stuff. But this is quite an expensive option. I think this paint alone on this particular car was over $3,000 as a paint option. And wow, you really see the precision here. The light bar is just one of the most striking accents on any vehicle. The new Porsche design language is truly beautiful. This one has the clear option here. Just looks so impressive. All the gapping here, absolutely perfect. The light bar fits incredibly well. Look at the precision here, guys. Now, the one thing that is odd to me is where they put the opening actuation for the rear trunk lid. It's this painted area here, and to be honest, I don't love that. The back end, especially of hatches and wagons and even SUVs, get really dirty here, especially in the winter times here in Colorado. And you're gonna be pressing that button, putting scratches in all the time, so I really don't love that. But we had a very nice actuation there, leading us into the inside of the vehicle here. What's crazy about this car is the packaging. And I just wanna show you this. So this trunk is not massive. It's not massively wide. The reason being is Porsche fits such insanely big tires on this. This is not even close to their biggest tire option. This is a 285, but what I want to show you here, look at the thickness between this and the outside of the fender, and then how much little space you have in between there. Truly insane how wide this car is. You feel the rear hips on it and looks very nice. We of course have all of this in the Cross Turismo coming up and down with the window. This all feels absolutely beautiful. One thing I don't like, my customer does have some stuff down here, so I'm not going to open this, but this little, I guess, underfloor latch here is on a basically cloth tether, and it's really inconvenient and annoying to open this and like set it back here. It just feels very clumsy. So that's one of those things I would like to see slightly better. The materials back here are completely fine. Apologize for the dirt and stuff in here. This is of course coming in to get a full detail, so we'll get all this taken care of later. But yeah, it just it feels okay. Definitely way better carpet materials and something like you find in my Model 3 or any Tesla or a lot of things like that. But let's get this closed down. Let's see how this, just precision there. How it comes down quickly, slows down, no big thud, no big bah. It just sounds perfect. Now the rear end of the Taycan here, wow, something crazy. So a lot of aero going on here, of course. I love this rear flap here that you have on the Cross Turismo, how it comes over, looks really cool. Again, I think a lot of rocks are really going to get into this area, especially between the paint and this plastic area, could chew up the paint a little bit. Moving along the side here, let's check the gapping over here. Yep, exactly perfect. So just Porsche things. I mean, this is what you get, guys, when you pay the money for a car like this. Absolutely incredibly precise. Moving along down the side, all the gapping here, absolutely beautiful. This is exactly how it should look. I did notice slightly, we have found something wrong with the Taycan though here. This does not line up incredibly perfect. When you look in your rear view mirror here, you can see that this one is slightly tilted at the front. Not the end of the world, just wanted to bring that up. We actually found something wrong with the Porsche. Oh my gosh, this is just mind-blowing. But yeah, exterior fit and finish, guys, the industry standard. This company just understands how to make cars, and yeah, completely blown away with it. And I'm absolutely pumped to get this washed up in the detail bay, ready to detail. But I think next, let's jump inside and talk a lot about deviated stitching, options, and check out the crazy interior in the Cross Turismo. Opening up the door here, and you are greeted with a very minimalistic but extraordinarily premium interior. Now we'll talk a little bit about the options this one has. Truly incredible. One thing I do want to talk about is this glass. I hope you guys can see this. Maybe the camera will focus on it. So this is double pane glass, but I want you to notice this more green tinged area here on my hand. You can see it's almost like this film that is in between the glass. It is so interesting looking. When I'm looking at the glass here, you get this kind of green shimmer. It's the same exact thing on the back glass. I'm not exactly sure what they use this for, to be totally honest. I'm not sure if this is an option. I don't remember seeing this on Anna's Taycan, but I know another Taycan I worked on did have this kind of green film in here. You guys will definitely let me know. I'm assuming it's some sort of premium option, probably for either heat rejection, sound insulation. Who knows? I mean, Porsche just does the craziest stuff, as I need to slam that a little bit more. But jumping inside here, this interior is so wicked cool. Now, Porsche options, like I said before, are just, there's so many different. It's not like a Model 3 here to where you have 2 color options of interior and that's it. The long range, the cheapest Model 3 has the same exact interior as the most expensive one. Porsche land on it, on the other hand, is a base Taycan feels very base. And then you get into something that, you know, you get a ton of options, maybe like a GTS that has their full race tech, Alcantara-like material that is just truly otherworldly. And then you have something kind of in between here. Now, I love the spec that this client did. So Neptune blue on the exterior, then we have a full blue interior on the inside. Let's just start here on the door panel and talk about materials, how everything feels, and just kind of get an overview of how Porsche is doing this. First off, very nice material up here. I would like to see this be maybe more of a high grain leather like they use here on the seats, but this is completely adequate. Very soft touch here. Moving down the side, this is something all car companies need to understand. Your buttons don't need to be gloss black. It doesn't make the car look more premium. This is a $140,000+ Porsche. We have matte buttons here. They're not going to show fingerprints. This looks completely fine. This area to me maybe looks slightly cheap, a little bit plasticky, but it still looks pretty nice. A little bit of gapping here that I would say is not perfectly Porsche. That could be worked on, but really nice door handle here. You can grab it with 2 or 3 fingers, boom. Pop the door open, feels really good. This is a very, very cool material that you'll find here on the seat and over here, even on the center console. Now, what this basically feels like, guys, is cloth underneath with some sort of, I don't even know how to describe it, this texturing over the top of it. It's not leather, it feels plasticky, and I say plasticky not in a bad way. It feels very rugged. This may be a Cross Turismo only option. I am not well versed in every single option that Porsche has, but this is, wow, very, 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 very nice here. Really like all of this. Now, this is slightly hard here. I would say, again, I think this could be a little bit nicer, but with Porsche, it's hard because, like I said before, there are so many different options comparing one Taycan to another. I mean, the price difference can be double and have basically the same car underneath. It's just, you know, what you spec your car as. But I would say this could be a little bit nicer, but I do feel like this would be very rugged. This is a little bit harder, but it does still have that soft touch feel. Here down on the doors, soft touch as well. It feels basically like the same material here. Everything is leather wrapped. I do believe this to be leather wrapped, but it is a very interesting feeling material, I'll say that. Now, one thing I don't love about Taycan is parts of the dash, and that's typically this part here. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten into Taycan and smoke my knee on this thing right here. It just comes out of nowhere. You're just trying to get in, and man, every single time I hit this on the driver's side, even the passenger side sometimes, but yeah, I mean, give and take, this thing looks truly incredible. What an option on the seats we have here. So again, the same material we found on the door panel. This is truly awesome. I'm curious to see how this is going to wear over time. I'm thinking, you know, okay, you have a Cross Turismo, maybe you throw your dogs in the back. I know that's sacrilege to a bunch of people, but man, there are Porsche enthusiasts that use these things like utility vehicles, like they should be. They should be driven. And yeah, I'd be curious to see how this would wear with either kids, dogs, you know, stains and things like that. I know that's not typically what you see in Porsches, but there's so many people who use these as car haul or kid haulers and dog haulers. Now, what I love about this interior, the race tech here, basically their Alcantara finish, and then we have leather as well. We have the Alcantara race tech headrest. This thing is just beautiful. I love this interior. It's so understated, and the camera is doing this interior no justice. How the blue pops, especially against the Neptune blue exterior, truly awesome. Now here on the dash, same kind of material. It's perfectly fine. Again, I would like to see a little bit more high grain leather, maybe like this. I'm sure you can option that. This feels completely fine. It feels rugged though. Like it feels like you could kind of abuse this and it'd be completely fine. Here in the center console, we've got some nice storage area here. Love the accent of this going down instead of just carpet all the way up or leather. I just love the use of materials in here. It's all different. Everything you touch feels a little bit different, and I really, really love that. Now, of course, here we have a full Alcantara steering wheel, an option, of course. We'll jump into the driver's seat here in a little bit and talk more about the infotainment and screens, but man, what an interior here. This is truly spectacular. Now, one option I really want to talk about is this glass roof. This is an expensive option, and I'm going to show you some really, really cool things that this does here in a second. But you can see this is basically an electrochromatic roof to where you can make it fully frosted, you can make it completely unfrosted, or you can do some other very cool designs. So I have hopped in the car now, and I'm just gonna turn on the ignition quickly here, and look at what the roof just did. Holy smokes, that is the sickest thing. Let me turn this thing around and put it in selfie mode, and I'll show you real time what happens if you press this little button here and come to the screen to go clear, matte, semi, and bold finish. This is truly extraordinary. So you can see above me, look at this design. Now I'm gonna come over here to the screen, make it full clear. It goes away immediately. And then you have a scroll on this. Oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. I would play with this all the time. I'd probably end up breaking it. Then you can go full matte, boom, no light coming in. You can go semi and bold. I don't know how much this option is. I think it was the better part of $3,500 or something like that, worth every single penny. This is the coolest design ever. When you actually shut the ignition off the car here, it goes to full matte. So if you leave this car outside, it just goes full matte. I'm not sure if it does that if you leave it in clear. I'm assuming that it doesn't, but man, this is just so insanely cool. I think this is one of the neatest options ever. Now I want to talk here a little bit about the headliner. This headliner is not that great, to be honest. The material is scratchy, maybe would be the best word to say it. I'm surprised with the interior spec in this. Again, you can probably spec this with Porsche, but the interior spec in this, being that it has the Alcantara Race Tech feel on it, I'm surprised the headliner didn't come with that option, especially with the seats and the steering wheel. So some interesting tidbits there. It does match beautifully, as you can see over here. That same deep dark blue that it has. This is almost kind of like a jean blue, if you would, but man, what a beautiful color this is. What a beautiful place to spend time. This steering wheel is truly incredible. Perfect sizing, perfect thickness. This just makes you want to go drive it. I love the Race Tech Alcantara feel on here. I'll have some videos coming up hopefully soon, as I'm planning on doing a full Alcantara wheel on my personal Tesla Model 3 on how to clean them. This stuff is not easy to take care of and clean. So if you're not someone either who has a detailer or keeps your car clean, just get a leather steering wheel, because this stuff after a while really starts to look bad. Fortunately, this customer keeps it nice and clean. If you keep your hands washed, keep, things like, hand sanitizer off, this will wear pretty well, but even just the oils in your hands basically gets in here, starts to build up grease over a little bit of time. So this particular customer, I'll go through it and tell him how to properly maintain this. Now the screen in front of you is very sleek, very, very nice. There's a lot of things I like about this, lots of different options as you have to press the start button over here. Personally, for me, being that I don't have a left hand, this is annoying, but when you do get in, you can just press the car on. What I hate about the Taycan though, is when you get out, you have to press this off and then the car is still running, and it's just like, okay, that's kind of a weird deal. But look at the screens in this thing. Do you need any more information than this in your car? I don't know, but let's start up here with our front center display. So first off here, we have this amazing display here. So of course, being Porsche, you can change all of this. This is cool though, shows your battery percentage, the temperature of your battery, which I think every single EV in the entire world needs to have that for fast charging, to know if you're overheating things. Like Tesla has track mode to where you can see your battery, or service mode. But this is really the way to do it. Now, the cool thing with this, you can change all of this. So you can put it in your drive mode. You can, oops, I just put it over to the other side. Okay, I'm still learning the system as I'm changing other things. There we go. You can put it to your navigation screen over here if you'd like. You can put it to your trip, sport chrono. I mean, whatever you need in here. But this is the one I think that most people leave it in, is this information tab. Now, again, like I said, you can change this one over here. So if we want to select this, go back. Kyle's going to kill me with this because he's like, you should know better how to use this system. But like, you have TPMS over here, super cool. Let's again switch to the center screen as I need to go back. You can go to power meter, like all this cool actuation of how you can change everything, I think is extremely, extremely cool. Now I'll get this set back up to how the customer had it. Don't want to start changing all of his settings. Now over here, this is one thing I really don't like, having, you know, areas like your fog light all the way over here. You can see it's kind of a stretch for me as I'm sitting back in the seat. I think for most people, this is completely fine. I just think it's weird having, you know, your main instrument cluster have buttons on it, and these are haptic buttons. They feel completely amazingly nice, and then you're touching this and then you have fingerprints on your screen, which is really annoying, especially for the main screen. So you have traction control, some suspension, air suspension, and a hotkey button. Now here again, this was that screen I was showing you, how you can go between these and basically change the roof. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, how that changes. It is just the sickest thing I've ever seen. This car, of course, does have full air suspension on it. It's also got the electric sport sound. This was my first time actually just hearing it in person. I think it sounds pretty cool. Sorry, Kyle, I know you don't like it. We also have this main screen here, which is neat, but as you can see, look at the dust accumulation on this. Don't love this. I think it's completely fine. I would personally maybe rather have more storage here, but I know a lot of people love this screen. You have your charge area and things here. This has always been confusing to me, this direct charging. Can open up both charge ports from here with the automated ones. Very cool. Very responsive screen. In this, we actually have ventilated and heated seats, which is cool that it actually comes through this for the ventilation. But you have all your climate here. All these air vents, I don't know why I was struggling with that word, are actually controlled off the screen, so you can't change them, but it's very, very cool. Very simplistic design. My only critique with this would be, like, I don't know, there's so much gloss black here in the high touch point areas. Every time I get in a Taycan, they're completely covered in fingerprints. This is nearly every single new EV, new car on the market though. So I think it's something we have to deal with. I, of course, have made videos on how to clean these screens, different tips and tricks that you can leave in your car, in your center console to have, you know, some wipe down things for it. This screen over here is really cool for your passenger to be able to change stuff right there. I think it's very, very well laid out though. And just like the interior here is truly incredible. One thing I do want to touch on is this little guy here. This is a compass, which moves. It's so neat. So we're facing almost true north right now, and it is just so cool. It shows your elevation here. That is just the sweetest thing ever. So really like that. Not really much to complain in here about other than the size. So let me jump out and talk a little bit about that. And when I talk about size, it's not necessarily the size when you're sitting in the driver's seat or passenger seat. Kind of has this nice wrapping cocoon sensation, kind of like you're in, you know, a cockpit or whatever. And that's exactly what you expect from Porsche here. What's really weird about the size of this vehicle is not only how long the hood is, how wide the car is, we'll get into this a little bit, but the ingress and egress of this car is almost one of the worst that I've ever seen. Now, this may seem like a reasonably large area here on camera, but I want you to take note of where this rear seat actually sits. Basically, the back of the headrest starts right here in my driving position. I'm 6 feet tall, definitely overweight. Some of you may sit a lot closer, but when you get in this seat, you are basically throwing your leg in here. You're doing one of these actions. Notice where my knee hits on here. And for me to get in, I am falling into the car. I am also, when I get out, like having to kind of slide and climb out of the vehicle. Very much not a comfortable car to get in and out of. I've heard multiple people talk about this, not only that are a lot less fat than I am, but you know, just normal people are like, wow, this car feels very weird to get in and out of. It is surprising to me how small this door is. Again, this is a massive, massive vehicle. Getting in something like my Model 3 over here, in and out of the front seats, incredible, super easy. It's just surprising to me how far back you sit in this. And then you open up the rear door, and again, sitting behind a 6 foot tall driver here, there is zero legroom here. Now this is the same in the normal Taycan, the sedan variant. What you do gain in this is more headroom. So let me pop this under here. You have quite a bit more headroom. I actually sat back here. I had to push the seat forward, so I'd be uncomfortable sitting behind myself. It would push the driver quite a bit farther forward. But you do have a lot more headroom. What you don't have in this car though is a lot of shoulder room. And I talk about it here. Now, I just want you to notice this, guys. So from here to where your seat starts here, this is 2 feet, if not more. And then you have this huge protrusion of this plastic bit here, very, very hard plastic that you have to get over. It's very awkward to get in this car. Like, I have not seen anybody just hop in this car and look like normal. Like, you have to do these kind of weird maneuvers to get in and out of here. I just want to further expand on this point of talking about the thickness of this door. This point out here is your farthermost point of the door and the innermost point. This has to be 2 feet. So once you close this door from the exterior of the car, you're sitting nearly 2 feet in. And I really think this car needs to be wider on the inside. It's so weird to me, especially with Taycan sedan variant, of how small such a big car is. Like, again, you compare it to this Jelly Bean over here, this car has way more space in it. Now, I would say Taycan looks 10 times better than this car, of course, but it's not really that utilitarian as in space. It's very, very strange to me. So that would be one of my biggest complaints with this car is ingress and egress, getting in, getting out is very uncomfortable for myself. And I've heard this from multiple friends who have been in Taycans that we've had on test or friends' vehicles, whatever it may be, how uncomfortable it is to get in and out of it. Now, one of the things I do want to touch on, there is one material I really hate in this car, and it is this plastic bit that runs along here. As I said, very hard plastic, very scratchy. Now up front here, you can notice how bad this is already starting to look on basically a 6-week-old car. Every time you get in and out of this, it's very hard to lift your foot over this, especially with not much room this way. It's also weird, as I'm noticing here on camera, it picks it up more than in person, but the coloration difference, we have like 6 different colors of blue going on here. It looks fine in person, but I know somebody's gonna comment that in the video. Wow, that looks really weird. It doesn't look that odd in person, but nonetheless, I really would wish manufacturers would start making this in carpet. It would be a heck of a lot easier to vacuum that up. Not gonna get those scuff marks. A lot of these scuff marks in here are permanent, especially if you scratch it. Now, one of the last couple weird things I want to touch on in the rear is coming over to this passenger side. So if you have a wagon, I actually have an Audi all-road myself. We throw the dogs in it. You go to the grocery store, you can put quite big stuff in here. So you go to IKEA or whatever. Somebody having a Taycan's not going to IKEA, whatever it may be. What's weird with this car is when you put the rear seat down, look at this space here. It is so weird to me. And then you have basically your shoulder supports resting on this front bolster. If you're one of those people who has your front or rear seats down quite a bit, this is gonna start to wrinkle, especially on something that's not Alcantara in here, maybe a full leather seat. This seems very weird to me. There's also a ton of play in here, and it just seems really weird. You have this massive gap here. So like for a dog car, now I understand, not a lot of people are putting their dogs in $150,000 cars. I'll tell you, I have clients who buy $120,000, $130,000 vehicles every day of the week to transport their dogs around. It's something I see here, so I know that people will use this car as a dog car. And I just think this is very, very strange here. Yeah, I don't know, it's just one of those things. My last gripe about the interior is this area here. This plastic around here is the same cheap plastic down here. Really does not feel that nice. And we just got a refresh on this particular car. The new Model 3 Highland or new Model 3 refresh, it has a full rear screen in it. And they absolutely smoke Tesla in the rear, or Tesla actually smokes Porsche here in the rear infotainment screen. We need more back here. This plain vent and no rear heated seats in this is very, very weird to me. yeah, I don't know. It just seems kind of basic. And honestly, for the price of this car, I expect a little bit more. And honestly, just with this car, from the front seat's fine. Taycan, it needs more space back here. And again, I think it's just the width of this, the packaging they've done. I can't even describe to you. Look at my hand. I'm not even to this rubber seal, and you have another, 9 inches there to the inside of the door. It is truly incredible how wide this car is here. Let me just give you this visual here a little bit. Your seat starts here. That's the outside of the car. Like, what? It's insane. So I think the packaging on this car has been really, really interesting, but just wanted to make some notes on there. I'm blown away with the build quality other than one main material of the inside of the car. The exterior, they just absolutely killed it. So if you're not a paint nerd, you can probably finish off the video here. But if you care about really, really nice paint, let's jump into this one. Okay, paint and detailing nerds, it's finally your time. This is one of my favorite parts of these build quality videos, really going deep into the paint, taking paint readings, looking at imperfections of how they were delivered. Now again, this car's 6 weeks old, so there may be a few scratches. We'll keep that in mind, but let's start off talking paint meters. So this, if it will focus, it doesn't want to focus. Anyways, we're gonna read in mils, not millimeters. I get this comment on every single video. Typically I see around 4 to 6 mils of paint on vehicles, and they go 4 to 6 millimeters, that's so much paint. Well, it's mils, completely different. For example, an average thickness of a sheet of paper, like printer paper that you may have at home, 4 to 6 mils. So in that area, it's so thin. And when we're talking about that, this metal tip here is reading through the clear coat, through the color coat, through the base coat, through the primer, down to the metal, sending a signal back. And that's around the thickness of a sheet of printer paper. So keep that in mind. It is very, very thin that we are working with here. What we're looking for is consistency. 521, 561. Great. This is exactly what I expect out of a Porsche. So a little bit higher there, actually a mil higher in this region, surprising. Okay, so we've got a little bit more paint back here. Typically, guys, when I work with Porsche, their stuff is like within a mil difference. So it's not that out of the ordinary to see that. But let's just keep that in mind as we walk around the car. 522. So I think right around that 5.5 region, or maybe slightly lower, is where we're going to see this car consistently. Yeah, this is what I expect out of a Porsche. Right on the money. So let's go here actually on the hood now. A little bit higher in that section, a little bit lower in that section. But overall, we're staying within a mil difference between them. So pretty darn consistent. Let's come here around the badge. 573. Wow, that's what I like to see. Again, this video, guys, is really what I expect cars to do. So when I do build quality reviews on something like my Model 3, I just wish it was a Taycan. Like, everything's put together perfectly. The materials are great, minus a few here and there. Like, the paint's just freaking awesome. I mean, yeah, it's just Porsche things, okay? So just bear with me on this. I just want to showcase this car because it is just so incredibly impressive what Porsche has done. I mean, this fender, I don't even know how much more precise you can get than that. From, like, these things are not, they're not mass market, but they kind of are. Like, I mean, Porsche makes thousands of cars a year, and they just know how to do this so right. So slightly low down there, but let's keep moving on. 653 up here. Let's do this one continuous panel. Bam, that's so consistent there as we just drop a mil. It's like Porsche's listening to me right now. So interesting variation. I mean, in some areas on this particular panel, we're around 2 mils difference, which is a little bit surprising, to be honest. Now, is any of this concerning to me? No, and the reason I say that is because everything looks consistent. The texturing's really nice. If you haven't watched the video on my Model 3, the paint is kind of all over the place. The readings are all over the place. The texturing's weird on it. That car really needs some serious work. I just haven't had time to do it, but It's very, very different than working with Porsche paint here. So I'm not concerned about this at all. This is honestly what, you know, a lot of things out of Porsche really, really look like. I want to go way down here. It's a great area to have a lot of paint, especially if you're going to get quite a few rocks around here. Let's check here on this door. Great. So, of course, rear bumpers we can't measure. I believe this piece is, okay, 574. I was thinking this was plastic here. Wow, okay. I don't know why I thought that was plastic underneath like a bumper would be. So it almost seems like this little area, we got a little bit lower reading on that same fender section there. Interesting stuff going on there, but it seems like it's kind of like that on this car. Yeah, I mean, this is every single car that I have on these build quality analysis. I just wish they were a Porsche. Like, I know these things are so expensive, but when you are a detailer and so detail oriented like this, like these cars just live up to that. Now, I love my Model 3 over here, but this car is a third of the cost of this with basically more performance, more specs than something like this. Like this has a way longer range than this. This charge is amazing. I don't want to get into all of that, but it's just like when you buy something like a Tesla, you are not expecting the car to be perfect like this. You have to give up something somewhere. And I think a lot of people are Tesla or nothing, or no Teslas and everything else type of deal. But I think there's really interesting places in the market for these cars. Just in my impression, if you want one of the best built vehicles on the market that has a heritage of motorsport behind it, that has unbelievable styling like a vehicle like this, there's one option. It's Porsche. It is just Porsche. So I think lastly here, I'm gonna take a quick look around the vehicle, look for any sanding marks, rotary marks, any paint imperfections that I can point out to you. I will tell you, in my long career of detailing Porsches, a lot of the time I see quite a few sanding marks. I see a lot of rotary marks. Now what's really interesting is you see those more on the more expensive paint jobs. So when you go up market and do paint to sample, like a lizard green GT3 RS I worked on, all the carbon was completely rotary trailed, had so many sanding marks on areas like the front bumper here, rear bumper. It's really interesting. And what's funny is like you can buy like a base Macan and the paint as far as defects actually looks better than something like a $250,000 GT3 RS. So Porsche is kind of interesting in that way. I think they do quite a bit of work on the cars at the factory. What you don't see with this car is paint nibs. Like my Tesla over here has, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 paint nibs on it, basically meaning a piece of contamination got into the clear coat. You don't see that on Porsches, like hardly at all. But what you will see is they polish certain areas. They may sand some areas. But what I've been noticing around this car, and what's so nice here with the shop, how I have different lighting like this, is you can really start looking at the texturing between panels and how consistent it is. I would say Porsche is definitely on a level above, just like they are on pretty much everything, on how consistent their texturing is, how much better this looks than something like my Model 3. Like you can really see a lot of orange peel here. This does of course still have orange peel, but it's a lot clearer. Again, these are two basically brand new vehicles, but completely different price points. I'm just trying to give you an example of what I really think about when I'm working on these cars. So let's look through this thing with the scan grips and give you a final verdict. So I just walked around the car with this bad boy, my scan grip light. This is what I use to point out defects on vehicles, look for scratches on paint. Basically what it does is mimics the sun. The nice thing with this is I can walk around, I can have it at noon, I can have it at 6 o'clock, and I can really see around the entire vehicle. Now I have not washed this vehicle yet. It's coming in for full paint correction, ceramic coating. And as I said, this car is about 6 weeks old, give or take. Definitely has a few scratches here and there. I would assume a lot of that is probably from the dealer washing it when the client picked it up. Maybe even he put some scratches in washing it. We'll go through the whole wash routine with him and really educate him on how I like to wash vehicles, how to maintain his brand new ceramic coated vehicle. I got to tell you, walking through this car, so first off, this is a non-metallic paint. So let me just show you here. Non-metallic paints show a heck of a lot more stuff on them. Basically because you don't have the distraction of something like this, a metallic, when the light reflects back into your eyes, it doesn't show scratches as easily on metallics as it does a non-metallic. Now, I will tell you, overall, there's a few what we call RIDs, random isolated deep scratches, meaning, you know, you may have done a love wipe on this quarter panel if you were trying to get some dirt or whatever it was off, or just improper washing and drying techniques. I have not found any, except for one, kind of sanding mark or buffing mark on this car, which I'm glad to see. So they're not really doing a ton of extra work. I've kind of looked at the texturing around here to see, okay, maybe did they sand this, do a little bit of buffing and polishing on this to get things out. I haven't seen anything that stands out to me. The only area that I found on this, guys, is this particular section. You can see this has all been DA polished. So over here, nice and clear. Again, keep in mind this is dirty, and then we have a bunch of DA polishing here. Even got into a little bit of the trunk lid back here, as you can see. But overall, what I would tell you guys is the paint looks pretty average for how a car is delivered. I know where this car was delivered, not gonna say, but I've worked on vehicles from them before, and yeah, wash bay is not the greatest thing out there. So these cars do come a little bit scratched. Now this is, again, always the comment, why do new cars need paint correction? Well, we have deeper scratches like this. As you walk around the car, you can see north and south of that light, we've got some scratches there. We've got areas like door handles. This one actually looks pretty good. Let's check here. Yep, a few scratches here. Camera's having a hard time focusing, but we've got quite a bit of water spots as well, which will definitely need to be polished off. Now, one area that I told you guys I was a little concerned about with the Taycans is this little button back here, and you can see how already scratched that is. This is 6 weeks worth of use. So you can imagine you have this car 5, 6, 7 years, you're gonna get a ton of scratches in this area. I think this needs to be moved maybe down here if you had a little button, boop, or just not even have one and use a key or something, I don't know. Or maybe do like Macan does and have the opener here. I think that's a way better implementation than the weird painted area there. But I would just tell you guys, overall, this car is an average delivery. In all honesty, I would say the paint condition, as far as scratches put in maybe by the dealership when they're doing PDI, is probably even more than Tesla. Tesla just kind of rinses their vehicles off and just throws them to you. They're slightly dirty. Now, my personal opinion is I would rather them not detail a brand new vehicle. So if it were me ordering a Porsche, what I would do is say, leave the wrappers on it, do your PDI, do not wash it. It would come here immediately after, get completely unwrapped, first bath, everything like that. But, you know, this is the kind of thing you have to deal with when you're buying a vehicle from a dealership. So just want to keep that in mind. But I think finally it's time to give you my overall thoughts on the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo. Well, if you've made it through this long, I think you know what I'm going to say. Blown away. This sets a new standard times 10 of anything we've had on the channel as far as build quality. There's no parts falling off this car like a lot of other EV manufacturers we see. Everything is millimeter perfect. Like, I found really one slight issue on the exterior of the fit and finish of this car. Nothing inside other than a few material choices I would say were not up to par of Porsche. Like, everything's beautifully put together. Like, yeah, I'm blown away, guys. I mean, really, and I knew that coming into this video, but when you really walk around these cars and make these videos, it's fun for me to do as well, to really experience the cars in a different way. And Porsche just goes above and beyond everybody. And, you know, like I said before, you're not buying this comparing a Taycan Cross Turismo to a Model 3. Two totally different price points, two totally different use cases of vehicles. These things you are buying just to have one of the best looking EVs on the market, a car that charges phenomenally, and most importantly, wears that badge right there, the Porsche badge. I'm just completely and absolutely blown away with this car. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you in another out of spec detailing video very, very soon. Bye-bye.